So now I hope that there is no question on this topic. So with this, I would like to introduce the static data member and static member method of a particular class. Okay. So if all of you remember, I mentioned that static data member is not specific for a particular object or instance of a class. It is a generalized variable for all the objects of that class. Okay. So if I am having any static data member, in that case, I will be having only one copy. For example, if you take an example of time, whenever I am instantiating an instance or creating an object, okay, if I say time, t1, comma t2, okay, so I created two objects of the type time. Fine. So here memory will be allocated for 3 integer. This is might be for t1 and this is for an object t2. Okay, 3 data members, so memory to store 3 integer values. Okay, instead of this, if I have any static data member inside the class, okay, assume that I am no I am having a counter. I am having a counter data member. Whenever particular object of the time of the type time is created, okay, then I will explicitly increase. I want to increase the value of this counter. Okay, value of this counter. Then in that case, what will happen is you will have one memory will be allocated for the static variable counter. Okay, and this data member will be shared amongst all the objects. Okay, all the objects. Say if later if I create one more no so one more object of the type time like t3. Okay, assume that I created one more object. Okay, so this t3 t1, okay, this is t1, this is t2. Together they have only one copy of this counter, because inside the class definition, now assume that inside the class definition time, I just, this is the private, okay, so these are the 3 variables. I will not rewrite those, but in addition to that, I am saying that int count, sorry, static int counter. Okay, and rest of the code is there. So try to understand that I introduce this word inside the class. Okay, so there will be only one copy of this variable, which is a static variable, which is a static variable.
No, I won't eat anything.
Okay, so class member can be declared with the
No, I
storing
don't
class
want.
specifier.
That's the same. मैं भी सवारी चॉकलेट का क्या करूँ?
Is this clear? Okay, fine. Okay. So when we declare an object of a class having a static data member, the static member is not a part of class object. Okay. And if you can see, the storage is also different. As I have shown in the previous diagram, the static data will have a different storage location in the memory layout of a process. Okay. So this is one example. All of you can see this. Okay. Now coming to the static member methods. Okay, some of the member method can be defined as a static member method. Okay, I will talk about this static more when we will discuss about the Java. Right now, here up till now, if you recall morning session, what I wrote is, if I want to invoke any member method, I am required to invoke it in association with an instance or object of that class. Okay, like t dot get or set time, right? Set time was one method, and then we passed three arguments. Okay, so this member method was required to invoke in association with this an object of that class. But if any method is a static method, then this association is not required. Just like a function call, normal function call, which you have done up till now in C program, in the same way, you can invoke a static member method. Okay, that is the difference. Is that clear? Okay, just to mention over here, in Java, the main function is made static. Okay, main function is made static. That's why you don't need any object association to invoke that method. Fine. Again, if there is another nested call inside the static method, then the static method can invoke another static method only. Okay, and not the static method. Again, you cannot access ordinary data members through the static method. Only static data method can be accessed through the static member method. Okay. Okay, so this is example of static member method. Okay, if you look at this, inside the class A, void f is made static. F is a static method, but it's a member method. Okay, we know that we are required to we are required to invoke a member method in association with some object, but this is not the case. Okay, here I am telling the compiler that invoke member method f which belongs to class A, then in a very next statement, an object small a is created of the capital A, of the type capital A. Okay, and then one pointer is also created. So here this is invoked in association with an object. This is invoked in association with a pointer. Fine. And this is without any association. Okay, and this code will execute. Okay, so three-way, without any object association, with object association, and with pointer association. Okay, just like a structure, when you create a pointer to an object of a user defined data type class, okay, then instead of the dot you are required to use this arrow. Okay, this arrow, that is pointer of the type f a, and I am invoking this method f. Okay, now coming to the nested and local classes. Okay, I'm going to just introduce you all here what are the nested classes and local classes, but I will request all of you to explore yourself on this. Okay, so inside the inside one class you can define your own class. Okay, and scope of that class will be limited to the outer class. Here the class name named inner is defined inside the outer class, the class name outer. Okay, but outside the outer class there is no existence of the inner class. There exists a inner class is only known to the outer class. Okay, and you can see that see, I have not mentioned here any access specifier. So default access specifier, it will take. Okay, it is static. It is static. So I'm required to initialize it, define it outside the class like this. Outer's inner class I data member is equal to 47. Okay. Then inside a function, you can have a local class also. You can have local class also, just like a structure. Okay, but local class can't have static member. The reason is, how will you define the value of I? Okay, how will you define the value of I? Okay, so here if you look at this, I created an object of the type outer class, and here I invoked this method. Okay, another interesting point here. Okay, all of you will appreciate. Look at this code. Output of the above code, right? The C++ code. And what about the output of the Java code? See, while writing your answer, I will appreciate if you mention for the C++ and Java. Those who submitted their answer, I request them to resubmit it saying that you are writing it for C++ or Java. Okay, Pulkit is saying for C++, 8/20, 2020. Okay, that is no change, right? You are saying that there will be no change. Okay, so just briefly, I will tell you that assume that there is a class date. Okay, there is a class date. You have instantiate an instance, that is created an object by passing these values. Okay, here the constructor will be invoked. Then again you declared, you created another object d2, and then you are saying d2 is equal to d1. Okay, d1 dot set, assume that there is a member method which sets the value of. Am I audible now? Okay, okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, so again repeating this, d1 is created, then d2 is also created, and then I'm saying that d2 is equal to d1. Okay, so most of you said okay. What about the Java code? What will be the output of the Java code? Anyone having any idea? See, more or less both the codes are same, but see, depending on the language implementation, okay, design of the compiler, the things has changed. 21. Okay. Yes, Darshan. Darshan, can you tell me the reason? Can you give me the reason? Yes, Darshan. Can you give me the reason? Why?
Ma'am, in C++, all data is copied, and while in Java, only the uh, kind of pointer is changed like that.
Pointer is changed.
Uh,
Okay. Okay, fine. I mean, quite correct. Quite correct. But fine, let me tell you. See, in C and C++, uh, if you are creating any variable or user defined data type like object, okay, object here, it will be created on the stack. Okay, we just now we have seen that there are two types of memory. Here we will say stack, which grows in this direction, and somewhere here it is heap. Okay, I am not talking any other thing about right now. Okay, it will grow here. So if you are creating normally, I mean by static allocation, any variable or user defined data type object, it will get stored here. It will be the memory will be allocated on the stack. Okay, whereas in Java, whenever you are creating an user defined data type, okay, you are required to do it with the new. We know that malloc and new, okay, malloc, alloc, new, it is used for dynamic memory allocation. So dynamic memory allocation is done on heap, on heap, right? And that is why this new or malloc, alloc keywords are used. So as such, in this case, uh, in this case, okay, so in Java, whenever you are creating an object of user defined data type, it will be created on the heap. It will be created on the heap. Okay, so if this is my memory layout, okay, this is a kernel, this is stack, okay, which is growing in this direction, and then I am having a heap memory over here. Okay, all of you are able to see my screen or not? Somebody unmute and tell me.
No, ma'am.
Yes,
The screen is not visible.
my screen is not visible. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, I hope now it is visible. Anyone can acknowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because if I open the OneNote, I'm not able to see the chat. Okay, fine. So in Java, try to understand that if I say date D1, date D1 is equal to new date. Okay, if I do something like this, then I'm using a new keyword. Okay, I'm using a new keyword. So memory will be allocated on this heap. Memory will be allocated on this heap. Okay, so here try to understand that bytes will be allocated for D1, but D1 is a special type of pointer. It's a special type of pointer pointing to this memory location, okay, where an object of the type date is stored. Okay, whereas in C++, this is compulsory in Java. Okay, you cannot create user-defined data type object without using new. Okay, it's a compulsion over there in Java. Okay, but in C++, what we have done, we said that in C++, right? In C++, this is for Java. In C++, I said date D1. Okay, and I initialize it with some value. Then I said date D2, and I said D2 is equal to D1. Okay, D2 is equal to D1. So because of this, D1 got created here, somewhere here. D1 got created, then D2 also got created here, and then whatever the value was here, you are with this equal to sign with this statement, it is copying the value of D1 into D2. Okay, and after that, if you look at the code, you will realize that we have changed the value of one of the object. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the value of another object has been changed. It remains as it is. It remains as it is, isn't it? But in Java code, what is happening is you are saying that date D1 knew some value, right? Here we have passed some value. Okay, and then we said that date D2. Okay, so again, a special type of pointer is being created here and not an object. Okay, then we said D2 is equal to D1. Okay, so this D2 is equal to D1. So what is D1 and D2? Somebody unmute and tell me. What is D1 and D2? Are they object or pointer in Java?
Pointer to the object.
Yes, very correct. So if D1 is the pointer here, D2 also a pointer. And with this statement, D2 is equal to D1, what you are saying is whatever is the content of a pointer D1, spatial pointer, okay? I will not actually saying a pointer is also wrong from my point of view, but just to make you understand, a spatial pointer, okay? The spatial pointer D1 get copied into D2, get copied into D2. So this actual location of D1 and D2 is on the stack in Java. Okay, so D1, this spatial pointer D1 and D2 is actually located at stack, but they are pointing, okay, they are pointing to memory space or storage space allocated on heap. Okay, so because of this, when I say D2 is equal to D1, the address present in D1 is getting copied into D2. So when after this D1 will also point to the same location on the heap. Same location on the heap. Okay, and because of this, I hope everyone has taken down that code. If not, shall I show it again? Okay, because of this, if you look at the code here, just in C++, just by updating the value of one object will not change the value of another object. But here, both of them are pointing to the same memory location. So either you change the value either using D1 or D2, the same memory location will get updated. Any doubt about this? Okay, again, I will go back to the PPT. Are you able to see the code? Okay, great. Okay, so now a little more on the same topic. We know that whatever the variable name we give, that is a symbolic name assigned to access a particular memory location. Which location is allocated, that is decided by the system, underlying system. Okay, and of course, the size of the storage allocated depends on the type of the variable, compiler, and the platform you are using. Okay, now I also essentially want all of you to understand the difference between variable and literal constant. Okay, try to understand that variables will be always addressable because they occupy memory on storage, whereas literal constant will not occupy memory in the compiled program. Okay, in the executable program, because wherever there is a reference or wherever there is a no, in whichever the statement is accessing that literal constant reference will be replaced by the value of that literal constants. Okay, I will talk about this more as and when required. Okay, so if you look at the diagram on the right hand side, X and Y are the symbolic name given by the programmer, whereas the actual location, the memory address, is shown on the left hand side of that block. Okay, and value is inside the block. Now, one more thing I want for all of you, that you should try to understand the difference between the variable name when it is used on the RHS side or LHS side. Okay, can anybody tell me how it differs, whether a particular variable name occur on the right hand side or left hand side. Anyone?
Ma'am, on the left hand side, we are writing the variable, or I mean, modifying its value, whereas on the right hand side, we are only accessing its value.
No, that is fine. That is fine. This is a statement. Okay, let me give the another example. Assume that I have a integer xyz. Okay, integer I can all of you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no, not this. Okay, I shared my um, screen now. Okay, so assume that I defined three variables: int x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, and z, that's all. And then I say z is equal to x plus y. Can you see this expression, all of
No,
you?
ma'am. The presentation is still visible.
No, no,
The one which you were showing earlier.
now I'm not able to get why it is giving me so trouble now for this semester. Okay. Okay. Uh, so here I defined three variables x, y, and z, right? And then I said z is equal to x plus y. Can you tell me that how we are using x, y, and z, or the way we are using x, y, z in this statement, in this instruction, is same or different? X and y lies on the right hand side, whereas z is on the left hand side.
We are using X and Y to refer to memory locations from which we are reading the data, and we are using Z to refer to the location where we will have to write the answer.
Yes. So what I mean to say that the R value, okay, whenever it is the um, R value, the value is the storage. This is the storage. It is used as a storage, okay. And L value is the location of the memory storage. See, Z is a variable name which we are using to access a particular memory location. Okay, say this memory location. Whereas when I say X and Y, which are on right hand side that I am using to read the value, and not for accessing any memory location. Okay, that's why all of you are able to see the presentation now. Okay, so what I want to emphasize here is the variable name has dual role depending on where it appears in the program. Okay, it can represent L value, that is a location of the memory storage, or R value, the value in the storage. Okay, so when it is on the right hand side, it is a value in that storage, and when we are using it on the L value, it is the address, okay, location of the memory storage. Okay, so it is very important on which side of the assignment operator it is present in the assignment statement. And that's why 4 is equal to 1 is wrong. Okay, then grade plus 10 is equal to new minus grade is not allowed. Okay, such type of statements are not allowed. Now, the thing is, not all languages distinguish R value from the L value the way C++ does. As I just now gave the example, in C++, the things are different, and in Java, the things are different. In Java, every user-defined object is created on the heap. So whatever you have, that is D1, in Java, D1 and D2 are the spatial type of pointers. Okay, are the spatial type of pointer. What they are called, we will discuss soon. Okay, any doubt about this? Yes. Okay, now come to the point that this spatial type of pointers. Okay, the spatial type of pointers are called references. Okay, these are called references. These references are introduced in C++ and Java. This term references was not there in the C. Okay, in C, all of you might have discussed only pointers, normal pointers. Okay, but in okay, somebody's asking some question. Our pointer, how can we assign date using set function? Yeah. This is for the Java. Okay, this is only for the Java, that everything you are creating is a pointer, and with new you are actually allocating that to the. Okay, so I will be sharing. Okay, so this spatial type of pointers are called references. Okay, now look at this example and tell me is there any problem with this piece of code? Okay, new is just like a New is just like a malloc, and delete is just like a free. Okay, but these are the two keywords introduced in C++. Okay, so make it fast. I want to answer, does Java uses references in the same way as Python uses them? Yes. Yes. Okay. And Sridhar asked that if d1 and d2 are pointer, how can we assign date using set function? Okay, that we will see soon. Okay. So can anybody point out that what is a problem here in this code? Is there any problem, first of all? Is there any problem in this code?
And the code will run fine, but let's say we access array ptr1 later, then it will point to some garbage values,
Why?
because the pointer stores the same address that array ptr2 stored earlier.
Very
But
good.
now that memory is freed.
Yes, yes. I hope everyone got it, right? What we have done, again, assume that this is a stack, okay, and this is the heap, somewhere heap. Okay, so this is heap and this is stack. Now here you created a pointer, so it will be allocated space here. Okay, then you created another, so I will just write down 1 and 2. Okay, fine. Then here you have created another pointer. Okay, so again, the space for the pointer will be allocated here, space for the pointer. But actual array is being created dynamically on the heap. Okay, so this integer array of the size 100 will be allocated on the heap. Okay, now what you are saying is, so this pointer is actually pointing this pointer is actually pointing to this memory location where this array is allotted a space. Okay, then what you are saying is array 1 is equal to array 2. So the content of this 2 will be same. Because of this, now pointer 1 is also pointing to the same location. Okay, so when new keyword is used, the compiler requests the underlying OS to allocate the space on heap, because that space is with OS and not with a compiler. Okay, so it requests the system to allocate the space, required space on the heap. Okay, now with this statement, you are saying that two different pointers pointing to the same memory location, because you have said this is equal to, assign that. But now in very next statement, what is being done? You are deleting. Deleting means what? Freeing up. Okay, so with the delete statement, square is there after delete, because you are freeing up the array space and not a single type memory storage. Okay, you are saying that free the memory. So whatever the memory was allocated, it will be given back to the system. It will be given back to the system. This means that system is doing some kind of bookkeeping to allocate the free memory. So this bookkeeping will keep a record that which memories and how at which location the memory is free. So whenever a new request come, the underlying system will look at this bookkeeping table and will allocate the appropriate requested memory if it is available, to the program. Okay, to the running process. Okay, now delete. With this delete, you are freeing up, means what? The allotted memory is again given back to the system. Okay, this is done by the system. If it is given back to the system, And now what will happen is this memory is freed, right? Now it is given back. So it is not actually existing. It is not actually existing. Okay, but what is happening is still this pointer, which pointer? Because it is freed using pointer 2. So pointer 2 will be set to null automatically, but pointer 1 is still pointing to the same memory location which was allotted to that array. Okay, but now this memory is not available, it is written back to the system. Okay, so here if I write any instruction to access that memory using the array pointer 1, using the array pointer 1, it will not allow me to access that memory location, because that now that is not a valid memory location. That memory which was given to that process was written back to the system. Okay, so this is called dangling pointer. That pointer is holding some address, but that address is no more valid. The address is no more valid because that dynamically allocated memory is deallocated and written back to the system. Okay. Now example 2. After this, I will end the class. Yes, make it fast.
Ma'am, now
Yes, continue.
ma'am, now the memory which PTR1 was initially pointing to is still with the program, but it has no pointer to access that memory.
Yes. Very correct. Very correct. So I request all of you to work it out pictorially. Okay. With this, what is happening? On the heap, some memory is allocated, and this pointer is pointing to this. Okay, PTR1. Again, with this statement, with second statement, one more piece of memory on heap. Okay, I am talking everything for the heap. Heap is being allocated and it is pointing to this. Okay, but here, so PTR1 and PTR2 are on the stack. This is on the stack. That is PTR1 and PTR2. But as soon as you are saying here, PTR1 is equal to PTR2. So you are trying to make PTR1 also pointing to the same memory location. Okay, so this is gone. This link is gone, and now you got. So you have taken the memory from the system, but you forgotten through your program, you forgot to deallocate it or return back to the system. Okay, the programmer, this is a mistake on the programmer side, right? Okay, so what happened? Lost heap. Okay, and allocated heap, that is dynamic variable that is no longer accessible to user program, often called garbage. Okay, one more example and then I will stop.
Ma'am, we have a class right now.
Okay,
Can you take
all of
this
you
in
are having.
next class?
Okay, fine. So I will continue tomorrow with this example. Tomorrow we have I rescheduled the class from 11 to 12. Same link will work. Okay, fine.